Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the debrief. Geo, how was oneself?
I'm okay. Still disappointed we didn't win yesterday. But I think I got over it pretty quickly. I guess I think there's probably a lack of caring to some extent, but I got over it pretty quickly. Looking forward to Thursday. Actually, I still think we'll win on Thursday and go through. But by and large, really disappointed that we failed to beat Burnley, who are bottom of the Premier League.
Yeah, I think that's my big one. Like, it's not necessarily being disappointed or distraught or whatever because of the result or because of the score or even the game itself. If anything, on that side of it, I'm like, it's a good example of us showing fight and fighting until the last minute and carrying on going and all of the stuff that you want to see a football team have. The bit that is the bit that is the annoyance, the concern, the disappointment is the fact that it is Burnley, and that should be as guaranteed a 3 points in this league as possible. Which is, look, and that's not, I'm not trying to insult Burnley when I say that, but it's just unfortunately the situation that they're in this season, and it's it's just getting a point, having to fight back. I don't know. That's the part of it that really gets to me. That it's Burnley more than anything else.
The two things that really annoyed me yesterday was one, the inclusion of James Ward-Prowse. Like, there was just no need for him to be playing. I don't get why he's played him. The change, the Lucas Paqueta and James Ward-Prowse switch, which feels inevitable now at some point. It's getting earlier and earlier into games now. It was about 15 minutes yesterday. It's like, right, switch them over. Oh, hang on a minute, you're doing it all now already. You're not even like, what's the point? You've almost accepted. You must to do the change that early. You've almost accepted pre-match that you're probably gonna have to change them pretty quickly. There's just no need to be playing James Ward-Prowse on that left-hand side. So that really irritated me, because when the teams come out, I was okay with Creswell at left back. I'd have preferred Johnson. I was okay with it. The centre backs I was fine with. Phillips in for Alvarez, I got it, because Alvarez is one card away from a 2-game suspension, and we should be able to rotate. We should be able to rest Edson Alvarez against Burnley. We should be okay to do that. And I mean, I'm thinking now, Charlie, I've got the excitement I had over the signing of Kalvin Phillips, I think, was incorrect, but
Yes,
I still think the idea, the reasoning for bringing in Kalvin Phillips is and was still valid, which is we need a replacement for Edson Alvarez. So taking Alvarez out and putting Phillips in, I wasn't against it pre-match. I got why he did it, because I thought Alvarez looked tired against Freiburg on Thursday, so I think it made sense. Obviously, Phillips was going to have a stinker in the first half, but the one player that I wasn't happy with starting was James Ward-Prowse. I felt it was unnecessary in that game.
Out of interest, who would you have started otherwise?
Antonio.
Yeah, okay.
I would have started Antonio. We had to win yesterday. We have aspirations of qualifying for Europe via the league. Yesterday was a must win. It was 2 points dropped. That first half was abysmal. It's possibly one of the first 45 minutes I've seen us play this season. I don't remember Trafford making a save. I remember 2 shots. Well, I missed one. I went to the toilet and Jared Bowen had a shot. I missed it. The other one was Mavropanos. I don't recall another effort in the second half. In the first half. I was bored. I was really bored. Come half time, I was bored. I was pleased to see Antonio and Alvarez go down the tunnel early in half time, which would insinuate they were coming on. I was pleased to see the subs. I enjoyed the second half by and large. Those elements, the parts of the second half was a bit low. The tempo was lowered by Burnley, but there was a bit of excitement, and I enjoyed the second half. In the last 10, 15 minutes was very frantic, and I thought we were going to go on and pinch that third goal, actually. It was just that we ran out of time. I think had we played another 5 minutes, I think we'd have got the winner. And I think there should have been minutes added on because of the VAR calls and that. He blew up 98, 30 seconds. We got 30 seconds additional. That was it. But I'm not going to blame anything for us failing to win other than ourselves, manager and players. I think Moyes has got to take some responsibility for yesterday, but not all the responsibility. I think a lot of the players were shocking. 2 in particular I've mentioned, in Phillips and Ward-Prowse. I think they were horrific, and I thought both our centre-backs were really poor yesterday as well. But exciting second half, I guess. It's just it shouldn't have been exciting.
Yeah, I think agree and disagree. I think I personally would have started James Ward-Prowse. I think the 11 was. I think the starting 11, in hindsight, it's easy to talk about with difficulties. To be fair, for example, Kalvin Phillips. In hindsight, like at a time starting Kalvin Phillips, yeah, okay, he's gonna have to start some games. We really need to rely on him if Alvarez does get a suspension or does go missing because of injury or whatever. We are gonna really need him. So starting him in a game like this, yeah, okay, fair enough. I can see that. Again, in hindsight, not only not only does starting him seem like a mistake, but so does signing him. And I don't think I like you. I'm starting to get a bit, starting to lose hope in that. I think the entire time with Calvin Phillips, I've had people talk about the last 2 years. Like someone in the watch long yesterday, for example, was like, Charlie, he's been terrible for years now. That's not my concern, because look, we signed players before like that and it's worked out. Jesse Lingard, for example. I think my concern with Calvin Phillips at this point is I mean, we know this. We've known this since the very first time he played against. Since he played for us, right? He does not suit the system in any way, shape, or form. He's not ever really played the system, and my concern is that he's completely he cannot adapt to the system. Like, he just does not have it in him. And I was talking to someone else about this recently, but the idea of like, he was really, really good at Leeds, like really good under Bielsa. Like specifically under Bielsa, he was brilliant. And under people who've sort of done things similar to Bielsa, he was brilliant. The only other time he's ever done really brilliance is for Southgate's England. Outside of that, it's not really happened for Kalvin Phillips. Before Bielsa, he was basically in no man's land. He was a standard championship player, right? Didn't even play every game for Leeds. And I think my concern is not that he is a standard championship player or anything like that, but my concern is that he is just never going to adapt to us. Because the one I always think about in my head when I think about situations like this is Pablo Zabaleta. Zabaleta, when he first came to us, I felt like he still felt like he was playing for Man City at the beginning. And there was a lack of like realization of what you have to do as a West Ham right back compared to as a Man City left back. Man City left back, you can sort of get forward. Getting back's not necessarily the biggest priority. Even if you do lose the ball, you've got Vincent Company next year, you've got blah, 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 blah. And then the first couple of games here, some things were happening. And I felt like at some point he went, okay, I don't have Vincent Company. I can't do certain things I was doing before. And then he went on to be an incredibly reliable right back for us. Calvin Phillips doesn't seem to have had that moment of realization yet, that he can't just go running around man to man like a maniac. He does have to get back when he loses out on the ball. He can't do half of the things he's meant to, he feels like he should be doing, because it's just not how it works at West Ham. And I'm concerned at this point that he's never going to snap out of that, because I feel like at this point he should have had that moment of realization, and he just hasn't had it. Even I remember Alex Song's another example, right? When Alex Song first came back from his big injury, in his second spell here, and he was big injured, and he came back, and he was trying to do all these insane Hollywood passes all the time. He kept getting the ball and he was like pinging it forward. He's like, watch this. And it felt almost like he was trying to prove himself. Like I'm Alex Song. I can do this. Watch me do this. And then it wasn't until he just stopped doing that and started actually doing the basics and the simple stuff that he should be doing, where he started to find his form and refine himself. Why Calvin Phillips hasn't started this year, I don't know. I really don't know. Because my man is walking all over the shop. He's pressing far too high up the pitch. He's losing out on his position. And especially when you are the defensive midfielder. Like, he's gonna have to be the guy who steps into Edson Alvarez. And we saw when Alvarez came back on that pitch, there was that opportunity where, I can't remember which Burnley player it is, was inside the box and he just came flying back in, takes the ball off him cleaning, walks away. Especially when you're replacing that guy, you cannot be just here, there, and everywhere. Because
Yeah.
that's the problem James Ward-Prowse has when he's playing deep. He doesn't have the positional awareness to sort of do it properly, just because he's never really had to do it. He's played at Southampton a lot of time. He's tried to press. He's in a two-man midfield. There's loads of reasons why, but he just doesn't do that well. So you can't really play him there because he just completely vacates that space. Kalvin Phillips is doing it, and he doesn't even have the luxury of having Edson next to him. That's really, really concerning to me, to be honest with you. And I'm starting to kind of, at this point, lose hope that he's ever going to get it.
Right, let's take some comments and I'll talk about Kalvin Phillips. Scott says if the players don't like the way Moyes plays, then they do have the power to make a stand by just giving up. Maybe they know he's going at the end of the season.
Can I reply to that very, very quickly?
Yeah.
I understand why people talk about it. I think the second half performance shows that it's not they don't like the way Moyes plays problem. There are different problems. It might still be Moyes based. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying anything like that, but I'm saying specifically when it comes to like the way he plays and all these sort of things, the second half and the way we fought and all of that stuff doesn't strike me as that being a problem.
See, the thing is, I think we were like horrifically bad in the first half. However, Areola wasn't busy.
No,
Areola was not busy. So, you know, they scored 2 goals, obviously, but one was a worldie, another one was an own goal. So it's not even like Areola was that under the cosh. It's just that we were horrifically bad with the ball. We couldn't barely string a few passes together. We didn't create any chances. That was a problem. I didn't think Burnley outplayed us or anything. They probably had more possession. They were probably always going to. But I've seen them play Bournemouth last week, who their manager gets credited with his playing style. Well, Burnley had more possession and substantially more possession than Bournemouth. Bournemouth won the game 2-0, and it was because they just sat back, let Burnley do their thing, just hit them on the counter-attack. 2 goals, happy days, thank you very much. But the first 45 was bad, but I think that's on the players as much as it is on the manager. Neil says, only reason we got the second half and subs we did was down to Moyes panicking. We'll get the same old approach within a game or two. Badger said Moyes loves a win when he needs it. Thursday has to be an attacking 3-0 win, but we can't keep clean sheets. Mr. Hammer says the system that Moyes plays doesn't suit or get the best out of anyone. That starting 11 yesterday was awful. Adrian says that Leeds fans keep saying he needs to play single pivot, whatever that one means. Cyclops is saying that he also needs a new football thesaurus. Moyes knows how to win games, but he chooses not to by playing the beloved out of his form midfielder, which says Mr. Hammer. He goes on to say he isn't stupid, just stubborn, and would really rather see us fail than reverting to what will win. Kaiser thinks Kudus is starting to look demoralised and will jump at the first offer. And Kev says the Phillips loan makes no sense to anyone except Moyes. Is it the name, England, what he used to be, that made Moyes want him? Now, I'll put my hands up. I'll admit it. I was delighted.
Yeah, me too.
When we signed Kalvin Phillips. It wasn't just Moyes. I was really pleased when we signed Kalvin Phillips. And I suspected one thing and dismissed one thing, and I think I was right on one and wrong on another. The thing I suspected was how was Kalvin Phillips going to work at West Ham, because his best period came under Bielsa, who played incredibly different football to us. However, I was happy with it because as much as I think clubs use, there's nothing out there in January too much. There is not that much out there in January. I don't think January is the easiest window to do major surgery in your squad, and we needed a substantial player to replace Edson Alvarez because of how good Edson Alvarez is at West Ham. And I think when Kalvin Phillips came up, I was really pleased we got him in for the reasons that we saw yesterday, which is to rotate Alvarez and cover when suspended or injured or fatigued, especially after an international break. So I was pleased we got someone in. And even today, Phillips hasn't worked out thus far. He was horrific yesterday. But I still think it was the right thing to do. Obviously not Kalvin Phillips, but to bring somebody in to cover for Edson Alvarez. I think that was still the right thing to do. The one thing I did dismiss was match sharpness. And I got conned a little bit by a couple of Man City blog sites who said, don't worry about match sharpness. City's training is so good. It's like a match anyway. So I said, I'll take that. I'm happy with that. And that means he's ready to go. I dismissed the match sharpness thing, and I've got that one wrong. That one's on me. The one thing which I didn't consider, and I didn't really see talked about enough, was almost Kalvin Phillips's confidence. And when we look at Lingard and the success of that loan, I do think a large part of that success was due to Lingard's arrogance. Jesse Lingard rocked up, not played at Man U, and came in and said, I'm still really good and I'm going to show you. And he did. I think Kalvin Phillips doesn't really have that. He comes across a really nice guy, but I think he's almost too emotional in a weird way. And I think his start at West Ham has been really bad, conceding 2 goals due to him getting sent off. And just as the sequence of coming to West Ham where your confidence is quite low, you made to feel unwanted at Man City, coming in, and your first 3 games, you concede 2 goals and get sent off. Any confidence you did have was just gone completely. Yeah. I'm hoping that Southgate calls him up for England and he goes away in the international break for a couple of weeks. And he just gets away from West Ham a little bit and hopefully gets some minutes under his belt for England and has easy games where he strolls through them, doesn't make a mistake. And when he comes back to West Ham, he's got a bit of match sharpness back. He's had a bit of a break. He's got a little bit of football. Because there's still a good player there. It's obviously been a terrible start so far. I could never imagined it being this bad. There was a lot of people anti this move, and that's fine. But I just never expected it to be this bad. And the problem is, we're still going to need him. We're going to need him between now and the end of the season. Alvarez ain't going to be playing every minute of every game, so we're still going to need to call on Kalvin Phillips because, and this is where I'm a little bit naive still, probably. I'd still rather see Kalvin Phillips in midfield next to Souček. So if Alvarez is unavailable, my midfield would still be Souček and Phillips. I still do not want to see James Ward-Prowse in that midfield with Thomas Souček. I'd rather have Kalvin Phillips because I've got hope Phillips could turn it around, but I've got no hope that Ward-Prowse and Souček suddenly going to become a really good midfield pairing. I've seen enough evidence from them to suggest it's not there. With Phillips, I've seen no evidence that he can turn around at West Ham. But pre-West Ham, I've seen enough of Phillips to suggest he's a good player. So I'm hoping he can still make some positive contributions. But yesterday was a really good opportunity for him. And he didn't just blow it, Charlie. He stunk the place out. His passing was horrific. Really bad performance from him.
I think the differences between him and James Ward-Prowse, specifically in that instance, is, and I said this on the watch along, and I'm probably going to get some blowback for saying it, but I think James Ward-Prowse was one of the hardest working people on that pitch in the first half. Nothing worked out for him. Don't get me wrong. That didn't mean anything was going well. In fact, everything was going pretty awful. But he was consistently doing so much ridiculous. He was working so ridiculously hard. At one point, I saw him running back, winning the ball back, laying it off, making the run then forward himself, getting into good positions, all this stuff. And I'm like, the guy is going hard. Like, nothing is coming up for him. It's all going badly. Like, it's just not working. Then once we shifted him out to the left-hand side, that half-time, take him off. And we did. That's what happened, right? But with Kalvin Phillips, I'm just not seeing that. And it seems... And the thing is, it's the way I'm seeing it, it's just unforgivable for me. It's like losing out. He loses out on the ball in high positions, or goes forward to try and do something, doesn't work back, and it just sort of wanders back. And it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, I'm watching James Ward-Prowse. It's not coming off for him. He's having an awful game, but he's storming around the pitch non-stop. What's your excuse? Like, I don't get it. You're in a more vital position defensively. You are the guy who's meant to be there, and it's just like, it's so lackadaisical. It's just, that's the big difference for me between the two of them. Even though James Ward-Prowse was playing it again, like once he got shifted out into that left hand side, you just had to take him off. You just had to. You had no choice, because we all just like James Ward-Prowse doesn't work alongside Thomas Souček. James Ward-Prowse does not work as on the left. It's just this big no.
I get he shouldn't have started, but I get why Moyes wouldn't sub him at half time. I don't think he should sub him at half time. I can't imagine how that would feel as a footballer getting subbed off after like 20 minutes. So off you come, mate. I think there's other things you could do to get through till half time, which accommodate with the same starting 11, such as moving Kudus out to the left, Bowen to the right, put Paqueta in the number 9 position, and then leaving Ward-Prowse central. It's not ideal, but I'll tell you what else isn't ideal, and that's seeing James Ward-Prowse struggle out on that left-hand side and essentially unbalance the entire side because we can't attack down the left while he's out there. We've got to come down the right. At least when you've got Bowen and Kudus on either wings, both flanks have a threat to take to the opposition. Now, before we go any further, we'll keep taking your comments. And I don't know, Charlie might have more topics to discuss. I don't know. Do you have any more topics, Charlie? Have you got any more?
We can fly by the seat of our pants. I don't really have much to say.
Anyway, I'll take your comments in a second. Just want to point in direction of SofaScore, which is the best place to get started if you would like to get involved in some statistics. I'll give you one statistic. Well, it's not really a statistic. It's just a fact. It's free to download. You can download it in the link in the description or by scanning the QR code that's next to Charlie. At the minute, Charlie's there displaying all the stats from yesterday's game against Burnley. If you go on there, you can click on a player and see what their in-game stats were. And what I can tell you is that yesterday, James Ward-Prowse completed 77%. I always round down for pass completion by you can't round up for pass completion, so I round down. So it was 77 point something percent. So I round down to 77. But yesterday, James Ward-Prowse's pass completion was the lowest for James Ward-Prowse this season. So yesterday was the worst game for James Ward-Prowse in terms of his passes reaching a teammate. There's a statistic for you. It's all on the SofaScore app. Get it downloaded. It's completely free. No sign-ups. You do not need to sign up to the app. You just download it and you can start using it immediately. So get involved. Have a look around. And if you find anything interesting, leave it in the comments below. And we'll say we'll have a look. We'll just believe you. But there's some interesting statistics. You just got to go find them. Get involved. Right, Charlie, we'll take some more comments from people.
Yeah.
Or do let me get rid of that one so we can get the comments up on the screen. Mr. Hammer said, if set pieces weren't in football, James Ward-Prowse would be stuck in Shells and Tesco.
The thing is, James Ward-Prowse does legitimately have a service in the 4-2-3-1, and I understand why he started him, and I would have started him as well. It's specifically under Moyes, he can only play in the 10 role and nowhere else. He might be able to play, slightly deeper in a different system under a different manager, blah 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 blah. But specifically, what we're seeing he can only do that and can't do anything else. He's really good at pressing. He's really good at he's good at quite a few things. But it's just, I think he's literally anywhere else. You do nothing but highlight all of the negatives of his game.
Jack of all trades, master of none, really, when it comes to open play. He's a neat and tidy footballer. His tackling's not the best. His tracking's not the best. But he'll always give 100%. I've never once complained about James Ward-Prowse's lack of effort, as Charlie was saying. I've never once done it. There's been some players I look at, I think, I'm sure you're giving 100% today. Never once felt like that with Ward-Prowse. I just think yesterday when 11 came out, and I was with a couple of people, and I said to them, there's no need to play Ward-Prowse today, even set pieces, because you've got Creswell on the pitch, you've got Bowen on the pitch, and also Kalvin Phillips was sort of set piece king at Leeds United as well. So you had three other players that were more than capable. And I actually thought Creswell's corners were good yesterday. So
yeah, I agree, yeah.
It was almost unnecessary.
They weren't in the same position every time. Imagine that.
They were good. They were good. As BDN said, it doesn't really matter now. Season's almost over. Can't see us winning the cup, and we have only difficult fixtures left. I'm on the beach myself. I get that. The fixtures do look tough from here on in. Villa, Newcastle, Wolves, Spurs. There is some tough ones. There's still some other ones you'd expect us to win. I think we play Crystal Palace, although they look a bit better under Glasner. Luton's in there. So there are still some winnable fixtures, but I don't know this. If you were to go look at the reverse fixture earlier on in the season in our next set of fixtures, I imagine we did okay points-wise, because obviously we beat Spurs, we beat Wolves, so the fixtures would be okay. But I do get this feeling. If we go out Thursday, it will deflate me a lot going into the international break.
Yeah, I'd be massively disappointed. I think for me, I don't get as worried about the matches where I don't look at it in terms of like what would be traditionally thought of as difficult. I think about it like I'm just looking at it as teams who sit deep. We will struggle against, and we have always struggled against. So actually, we've always tended to struggle against teams like Dyche teams or whoever else it is who sits deep and does similar things to what Moyes does. Whereas teams who come at us, we tend to thrive against. So actually, it doesn't concern me in that sense, but there's other matches that maybe concern me that we should win.
Hal said if we come out with the focus on attacking, then we'd lose. At least when we're losing, having watched some decent football with a team that is really trying to score rather than sitting waiting. Kev said Lingard believed in himself, understanding going back to Man U, promises on more game time. I'll never understand the Forest decision. Can't believe it was just money. It wasn't just money.
Yeah, I've said a lot of things about Jesse Lingard that people don't like, but no, I don't think it is.
The truth will come out one day, I think. I'm still trying to get my interview. Now he's in South Korea. I think it's safe territory now. Come on, Jesse. On you come. come tell your side of things, because
how's this South Korean Odyssey going? I haven't actually looked about it. I, haven't
I
looked
don't
into
know.
it at all.
I don't keep up to date with it or that, but and he's enjoying himself in terms of like his personality, if you like. So that's a bit different for him, but
Yeah.
he's the type of character that can adapt to any changing room, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, listen, if I was in his position, I would have 100% gone to. Why not go to South Korea? He's probably like it's not
Because
like
he's not
it's
35, he's 31. Is he 30? I think he's 31. He's far from finished. I don't believe you go from Nottingham Forest to South Korea. It's a dramatic drop off. I think you could have had a few seasons in the Championship. There would have been offers there. I don't know why he's gone to South Korea.
why,
But
but what's the point in playing like realistically for him? We're getting off track, and this will be the last thing I'll say on Jesse Lingard, because I realise people are like, "Why you talk about Jesse Lingard?" What's the point in playing in the Championship if you're Jesse Lingard? Just go South Korea, have a fun old time, you know.
maybe one
Vibe it
day.
up.
Maybe one day the truth will come out. Angus said Declan Rice has delivered far more quality set pieces at Arsenal, more Prowse this season. We've scored no more set pieces as a result of signing him.
My biggest frustration with this, I'll say this very quickly because Geo knows I get very wound up about this. What he's doing, he's very good at doing. Tell him to do something else. And I'm not saying that's a James Ward-Prowse problem. This is directly a problem with our set piece structure at West Ham, because you just do the same thing over and over again. It's always aimed at the exact same spot. And actually, last game we didn't do that and we scored. And I was very excited. We did something slightly different and we scored from it. And in this game again, we did something slightly different and scored from it. But it's just that specific placement of corners. It's so frustrating to me because it just doesn't. I just don't get it.
Stuart says if Ward-Prowse can play the ball forward, his passing is incisive and allows forward-thinking players to actually find space. Peter says Nolan was on TalkSport last week. Said Paqueta wanders off to get into the game, leaving left wide open, has to be covered. It's not a tactical. So I disagree, Peter. I think it is. I think I heard the interview by Wayne. I know Paqueta always goes wandering, but I think there's a big difference between covering the left and staying on the left. And I think Ward-Prowse is doing very much the latter. I think there's significant switches, and it's a blatant one when Paqueta comes central and remains central, whereas he's on the left and goes wandering and returns to the left. I think there's two hugely different things, personally. But we all watch the same game differently.
Yeah.
Kev says feels sorry for Ward-Prowse. He's better than Moyes is making him look, playing him out of position, expecting him to do what Moyes wants instead of getting the best out of him. Barry says we need to start playing with an actual striker and have Bowen and Kudus on the wing so Paqueta can play central.
I think one of the things that's good from yesterday, one of the positives we can take from it, is one, Antonio came back in and actually looked fully up for it. He was running, he was doing a lot of different things that he used to be doing. Yeah, and I think this is the first time I think since he come back around, really like, okay, here we go. And for me, you add that into our team, it gives us a different dynamic. You know, you can see him starting up front with Kudus on the left, which isn't ideal, but in this instance, it would work, and I think he's doing better at it. Paquetá down the middle and Bowen on the right, and Bowen on the right is a completely different animal than Bowen up front. I think what we've seen has been fine and has worked, but that feels like the way forward for the rest of the season.
Ardham said the thing that frustrates me is I feel Moyes is capable of playing attractive attacking football when we need to win, but he holds the team back to play with minimal risk. We know he can do better.
I don't necessarily think that was the problem yesterday. I think there's games where it is definitely a problem. I mean, first half we had 40 something. I mean, I can look it up on the sofa score. We had 40 odd. We had like 49% possession, something like that. Maybe it was roughly 50-50. I don't think it was the usual case of
James Trafford 5% possession himself.
Yeah,
bloody time wasting mugger he was.
Yeah, Burnley's dark arts yesterday. Woof. They were. I said this at one point during the watch. It was 49% possession. I said this at one point. There was a moment for the first 10 minutes or so of the second half, or first 15 minutes maybe of the second half, where it was really annoying me. And then past that, it was just comical. Everything they were doing was just comical. Flying into challenge, flying into unnecessary stuff. There was that bit with Sander Berg. I can't remember who it was who was trying to get away. I think it was Kudus. literally basically grabbed him and then was like, nope, we're going down, and just sort of jumped and they both fell down. I was watching it like, man, listen, they need the points.
I was on my train home yesterday, was the Burnley team, so we were all queuing up to get on the train. And it was like departing in like 10 minutes, and everyone was like, hurry up. Then the gates opened, there was like 3 years come. We're all like, who's this then? And as they were doing it, in the first class windows of the doors, they were putting up a sign saying these carriages are privately booked. So who books a whole carriage? Anyway, the Burnley players all started coming through at Euston, and was coming through the gates onto the first class train carriages. So all the players come through. Don't recognise half of them. I was like, who are they? I could see Josh Cullen. I was like, do I? I was like, no, just bottle it. Just anyway. They came through. Then Bellamy came through. Then Vincent Kompany was last on his own, just on his phone the whole time. I'm very isolated. Vincent Kompany was anyway. Train left 6 minutes late. Burnley delayed my fucking train. Never mind the game yesterday. They even delayed my train departing. Their time wasting was that good. My train left 6 minutes late because of them.
The dark arts, Geo. The dark arts, man.
I was definitely blaming James Trafford while I was sat there. So this James Trafford's fault. This is taking ages with goal kicks. Now my train's late. But,
never would have had Geo down as a bottler for. I mean, listen, it's a different scenario, right? But I remember when we did that. Whatever, I can't remember which one of the sponsors it was, and we ended up going to corporate that one time, and Joe Cole was there, and I vividly remember you getting up like a shot and bolting towards Joe Cole. He was there doing some filming for the club or BT or someone like that, and you just getting up and flying towards him. Never would I had Geo down for a bottle job in those sort of situations. You hate to see it. Yeah,
it's also the circumstances, which was, my seats were reserved for the 8 p.m. train, and I was there for the 6 p.m. one. So I did not have seats reserved, and I was third in the queue, and I did not want to give up my spot of third in the queue for the race for the unreserved seats on the limited carriages, because 2 of them were taken up by Burnley. So on the limited remaining poverty carriages, not the first. I wasn't in first class like Burnley. I was just in the cheap seats, but they shoved the riffraff. So I had to find. I found 2, but anyway, yeah. So my train was delayed. At one point, I was thinking, hey, hopefully we're half an hour late. Delay repay, but no, we got there on time. We made up time. So at least delay it properly is what I'm going to say.
Well,
I did wonder what happens if I just wander through the carriages. I know where they are. What happens if I just go through?
Don't know, but I remember. Do you remember? Could you remember "Milkshake" by Khalees, the song?
No.
When Milkshake brings all the boys to the
yes. Sorry, yeah.
2017 time, something like that. I was on a train going to Manchester. It was the last train leaving Euston to go to Manchester. I was going there for work, and there was no one on it. It was completely empty. This train, right? And me and my mate who I was doing the work with, we were walking up towards the buffet car to get drinks because we were just bored out of our minds. So this must have been getting on close to 12 or whatever. It was like literally train's completely empty, and she was there. She was just sat in one of the completely normal, like you say, riffraff seats, if you want to call it that. She was just sat in them with her child and one of her mates, and we walked past her, and I didn't really pay attention to it. And we got to the buffet car, and my mate went, "That was Khalees." Like, what do you mean that was Khalees? He was like, that woman sitting there with the kid, that was Khalees. I was like, what, Milkshake? He went, yeah. And I was like, I'm sorry, Luke, there is no way Khalees is sat on this train, just in a completely normal carriage, just sat there, going to Manchester at this time of the... That's just no way that Khalees is on the train. And then as I'm saying that, one of the staff walks past the back of me, she goes, oh, you're talking about how Khalees is on the train? I was like, don't you start, that's not Khalees. And she went, no, it's Khalees, I just spoke to her, it's definitely Khalees. And I was like, how is Khalees of Milkshake fame just sat, that song she did with Andre 3000 that one time, how is she just sat normally? But listen, sometimes they are, and they're accessible. My mate spoke to him and went back, I did.
Anyway, I like this comment from Stephen. We'll start finishing this one up. But Stephen said, first half is how we are, second half is what we could be. We all know Moyes will stick with the first half tactics every game, though. Did I pick this game because I thought I'd see some goals and a guaranteed win? Kind of, not completely. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not going to... Burnley at home or Villa at home. I'm picking Burnley. That was my options, by the way. Burnley at home or Villa at home. Well, I'm going to go Burnley because we might score some goals and attack them. Villa, we could easily get pasted 3-0. It's not exciting, is it? It's not. It's hard to go watch us at home to Burnley. Never mind that one. But not completely because of that, because I will go to games where I'm expecting us to get beat. But I can maybe go to one game every 2 months or something at the moment. So I have to be careful. But also, I go to Scotland often, so it sort of rules out quite a lot of the games. Anyway, I'm not going to answer this one because I'll do my preview with Gonzo tomorrow. But Hal's saying, does your lineup on Thursday include Ings and Antonio Bevel?
Doesn't include Ings, does include Antonio.
Cockney says Ward-Prowse and Paquette are poor because they were moved out of position, shoehorn in Kalvin Phillips, a player we don't need. I disagree with that. I don't think they were to accommodate Phillips. I think Phillips replaced Edson Alvarez.
Yeah, so I think that was fairly 1-for-1. Yeah,
I think Ward-Prowse was the one that probably shouldn't have played. But at the start of the game, how we started, Paquette and Ward-Prowse were in the position they have been all season. Both of them were.
Yeah.
So I don't think they were. They moved out. You said Cockney said moved out of position. I strongly disagree with that. They were both playing the same position they have been since August.
I think I would go further and say it's their strongest position. I know people disagree with me on Paqueta, but I think under Moyes' system specifically, I think the left wing position is his strongest. It's when Phillips and when Ward-Prowse and Paqueta are swapped. That's when they're both in wrong positions. Jesus Christ!
I've been inclined to agree with that until recently. I'm not feeling it anymore. I want to see Paqueta central. And this is where I go back to the January transfer window. The manager said one thing publicly prior to the January transfer window. One thing. Mm-hmm. We need a left winger. I'd like to move Paqueta central. We need a left winger. And this is where, while yesterday's obviously on the manager, I was sat there thinking, why did we not get a left winger? I don't believe we couldn't have got one.
Yeah.
Because now we've got, when Gonzo was talking about how Ward-Prowse has been pronounced, I get it because the manager wanted a left winger, so he didn't have to play Ward-Prowse there.
Yeah.
And we didn't get one, so someone's got to go there, whether it be Ward-Prowse out of position, whether it be Paqueta not in his best position possibly, whether it be Fornals out of position, whether it be Said Benrahma who can't do anything. That position it was an issue, still is an issue. The manager said publicly, I want a left winger, and we can all have our own opinions as to who's to blame for that. I just blame them all. I blame Moyes, I blame Steiden, I blame David Sullivan, I blame all three of them. I think they're all responsible for us coming out of the January transfer window weaker than we were going into the January transfer window. But the manager publicly stated, I want a left winger to move Paqueta. Whether he would have done or not if he got that left winger, I don't know. It's hard to say. But given how quickly he's moving Paqueta recently, the last 2 games he's moved Paqueta in the first half, which isn't something we've seen in the first half of the season. I would suggest I believe him that he wanted a left winger so he can move Paqueta central. But anyway, there you go.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I agree with that. To be fair, but should we end it there, Gio? Should we end it there? Have you got anything? Any last words before we stop thinking about this game forever? Hopefully, and go on.
Massively 2 points lost, Charlie. I'm not happy about it. 2 points lost. I think the players are just as culpable as the manager for yesterday. I think there were some horrific performances out there. Agerd, Mavropanos, Phillips, Ward-Prowse, some really poor ones. Second half, we did well. I enjoyed the second half. But yesterday's, we come the end of season, I always say this, we will not miss out on European football because of this game, whatever, right? But come the end of the season, if we miss out on 8th because of 2 points, that's the game I'm going to look at and say, there you go, that's where you messed it up. It won't be because we got beat 6-0 by Arsenal. That's not it. That's not going to determine if we finish 8th, 7th, or 9th, or 11th. But games like yesterday against Burnley, that's the ones that will determine where you finish. And that it was a tough one to swallow yesterday. Feels like a defeat.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, there's lots of things I like about the performance and enjoyed about the second half, and that should be something I can be here, sat here to celebrate. But the fact it is Burnley and the fact the first half was the way it was, completely nullifies all of that, and it's a massive shame. Because again, like you're saying, it should have been as guaranteed a 3 points as you're going to get in the Premier League this season. Unfortunately, and for us, it ends up being one, which is literally the definition, I believe, with 2 points dropped. I think it's literally the definition. But anyway, let us know how you feel in the comments. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Subscribe if you are new around here. We'll have all of the coverage coming up for Thursday's big Europa League game coming up, including a preview, and then obviously, of course, the watch along the build-up show, the live review, and then the debrief the day after. But until all then, thanks everyone. Like the video. Appreciate you all, and see you then. Bye everyone.
Ta-da.
Bye.